Hello, welcome back to my channel. This is my latest acquisition, which I'm quite excited about. As you can see, it's a Tudor Oyster made by the Rolex watch company at a time where these Tudors were made by Rolex at the Rolex factory by Rolex technicians, watchmakers. It was later on that the Rolex company set Tudor up in a different factory with different watchmakers, totally standalone. At this point, these are Rolexes in all but name, although what the thing was is Rolex's Hans Wilsdorf, he had a vision to create a more affordable watch that would come from Rolex, but be more affordable. So the way he did that was use more off-the-shelf parts. I'm not sure what parts. I'm guessing some of the cogs and dials and things like that weren't quite so handmade, but they were still put together in the Rolex factory by the Rolex technicians at this stage. And at this stage, this is a 1947, the Tudor rose is inside a shield. And that's how you can date this, because after 1947, the shield slowly disappears and is just replaced with a rose. And then later still, the rose disappears and it's just a shield, as in today's watches. So when you're buying this age of Tudor, you are getting a kind of Rolex, a more pure Rolex Tudor than perhaps some of the later Tudors. And some of the Tudors do, even the early ones, have Rolex on the dial and on the back, and may say Rolex on the crown. This one, being an Oyster, has a crown which is stamped Oyster Patent. Don't know if you can see that. On the back of the case, we have a serial number, which, because this is an early watch, it doesn't match up with the Tudor serial numbers on the Tudor website. These are the same as the Rolex serial numbers. So when I check the Rolex serial numbers, you get the date from that. Also, just on the top, you can see engraved or stamped RWC, just about in the light, Rolex Watch Company. And I think above that says stainless steel. I can't quite remember, and I haven't got a magnifying glass to look. So there you go, Rolex Watch Company. Now, it's a lovely looking watch. I bought this from eBay, as I have all my watches, and I think I got quite a good deal. This had been for sale approximately 4 or 5 times and had fallen out of bed. So, you know, it sold, person hadn't paid, he'd had to put it back on again, which never looks good for a watch. But I could see the guy had good feedback. Now, he's a bit of a dealer. He bought this watch, and I went back through the listings and actually found the watch he bought. So it was this watch without this strap, with a cracked lens, and the case wasn't polished. And what he's done, he's polished the case, replaced the plastic purse. What is it? I can't remember the name of this plastic, but a new glass in it. Crystal, isn't it? You call them crystals. A new crystal, but it's some kind of perspex. And he's given it a good clean up and a good polish. I think he may have serviced it, although I'm not 100% on that, but it's running beautifully. The tick on it, I've never heard a watch's tick that sounds so good and so precise. I'll try to put it next to the mic. You may or may not be able to pick it up. Now, I don't know if you heard anything there. Probably not, but it might have been worth a try. Now, he's also added this strap, which is a Jubilee style stainless steel strap, which it looks pretty good on. Of course, originally, this would have been a leather strap, which I may buy myself a leather strap. I'm not quite sure. And because of this size, 34mm, it's actually quite a wearable watch. It doesn't look bad on the wrist, where a lot of the watches of this era were 30mm, and into today's kind of standards, they look really small. But this, as long as you haven't got a huge wrist, and mine's quite a thin wrist, so it looks pretty okay, I think. It looks like a nice watch, which I will show it on my wrist in a second. So going back to the story of eBay, he'd put it on about 4 or 5 times, and I think people were getting a bit scared. I saw it come up, and I wasn't really intending to buy, but a bit of an impulse, I put a bid in, and I managed to get it for a lot less than it had sold on the previous occasions. So I paid £310, which I don't think is too bad for one that's been polished up, is working beautifully. The crown screws down perfectly. And that's the thing with these. I was worried about the crown. I mean, maybe it is something that can be repaired. I'm not 100% sure if they do go. But being a mechanical watch, you can imagine how many times that crown has to be unscrewed. Then you wind the watch up and then you have to screw it back down again. So, I mean, with an automatic, you wouldn't do that, would you? You wouldn't wind it very often. You just, it's on your wrist. Occasionally, you're going to reset it if you've left it too long and it's run out of power. But I think that's a bit of a design flaw, but I can understand they wanted to make a waterproof watch. They needed a screw down crown, and that's what they did. But in practicality terms, having to unscrew that every time you need to wind it, it's going to be quite easy to cross thread it. It's just generally going to get more wear, and that's a bit of a worry to me. I've decided what I will do, in fact, is leave it unscrewed. So I'm not going to wear it that often, but I will want to wind it periodically just to make sure it doesn't seize up, because it's good to keep these watches running. So I won't keep it running constantly. I will let it run out, but maybe once a week I will give it a little wind. So I'll leave it unscrewed. No point me unscrewing and screwing back up again. I'll just leave it unscrewed, give it a wind, and only when I wear it, then I'll screw it back up. So hopefully that will mitigate me damaging the thread from unscrewing and screwing it up too often. I've mainly bought this as a investment. I wanted a Tudor as part of my collection, and I haven't had to do anything to this. I've been buying a few watches that I've cleaned up myself, but this, I say, apart from maybe buying a leather strap in the future, I haven't had to do anything. So let's put it on my wrist and you'll get a better idea. Just press pause. Okay, it's a bit of a cloudy day today, so I've not got a huge amount of light. Why isn't it focusing? Go on, focus. Oh, here we go. Sorry about that. So there you see, it's on my wrist. Well, I'm 6 foot tall. I've got quite long arms, but I've not got the fattest of wrists. But I think it looks okay. You know, it's definitely wearable. Where the Longines I've got, which has got the 30mm, does look a bit small. It's not something I would wear. But I would wear this, and I have worn it for a full day, and I think it looks pretty good. With the Jubilee strap, it kind of makes it look a little more modern. This is not the best quality strap in the world, but it's doing the job. Now, I have seen these go for a variety of prices, obviously condition and whether it's got a box and bookwork and whatnot. But some are going over 1,000, some are around 700-800. Not many going for 300. So I don't think I've done too bad. And they're not making them anymore, are they? Some of the fluorescent radium, I think, is missing a little bit from the hands. And there is some aged patina to the face. And this is, I think, a champagne coloured dial. But that, I like that. You can see its age. I mean, it's 80 years old, isn't it, pretty much? And where he's polished the case up, that looks great. But it's still nice to have the patina of the face. So you can see immediately that this watch has got age, which is interesting. So that's pretty much it for this watch. I'm going to keep it and hope the prices carry on going up and enjoy wearing it on the odd occasion. So they are out there, guys. Sometimes you've got to hunt them down a bit of patience, right time, right place. You might win one at a decent price. Anyway, thank you for watching. Take care.